Thank you, everyone, for joining us today as we celebrate the 10th year anniversary of T200. My name is Eileen Oriel. I'm the founder of FinTech Mode. We focus on fintech and banking advisory and AI transformation. I'm one of the newest members of this amazing community. I would like to introduce you to our esteemed guests of T200, Suja Chandrasekaran and Diane Schwartz, Pooja Devan, and Fei Eng. T200's mission is to inspire, educate, advance, and celebrate women's leadership in tech. Our community includes over 300 CIOs of global companies, nearly 300 next-level executives, and 900 senior women leaders in technology. Our goal is to find, engage, and prepare even more women by offering personal and professional support with a confident community of peers. Let's kick off our session with a short pre-recorded message from Angela Yocum, who is one of the co-founders and original board member and active contributor to Scale and Structure T200. She will share why she dedicated her time to T200 and what that has meant for her.
So often, senior executive roles can be isolating. We were lucky enough to find one another early on, and we started a WhatsApp group just to stay connected. But over time, as we added more community members and more friends, the growth took on a life of its own. It wasn't so much growth by design, it was growth by resonance. Our large community formed across the globe because the need had always been there.
In 2016, Suja Chandrasekaran, Mamatha Sharmarathi, Diane Schwartz, and other women CIOs found themselves at the same dinner table talking about the challenges they are observing in the market and how they can and they need to overcome those challenges within their own organizations. This conversation sparked the idea that a community of women executives in tech, such as T200, would be at most beneficial to other leaders in US and around the world who are tackling similar challenges as well. The type of challenges they have solved back then are still valid today, influencing the market about the benefits of technology, sparking interest of next generation related to technological advancements, women leadership in technology, and inclusion of women within the corporate boards. Every great community starts with a moment, a conversation, a realization, most importantly, courage to ask the tough questions out loud and challenge the status quo and take action. With that said, I would like to introduce, and it would be my privilege to introduce you to the original member and co-founder of T200 who started it all. Suja, you were, you were having conversations long before T200 had a name. What were those conversations about? And at what point did you realize that something more formal needed to exist? Ideating, incubating, and building something. So what inspired you to do this, especially on top of your executive and public board roles?
Yeah, thank you, Eileen. I'm Sudha Chandrasekaran. I've been a Chief Digital Tech and AI Officer at various businesses, large brands. Now I do a portfolio career. I sit on public, private, and nonprofit boards. To share a few, I'm on the boards of Jabil, American Eagle Outfitters, Atos Inc., Runtag, Agendia, and Freehand. Like Diane Schwartz and many others, T200 has been a labor of love and a labor of passion for me. And it's interesting to share a little bit of the history and have a look back at the memory lane. So here is the environment back in 2016, I would say even 2015. The environment we were operating in was somewhat different. While the themes can be the same, the environment at that time was about digital transformation, accelerating across every industry. But the reality on the ground was messy. Companies were standing up digital stacks, but there was tremendous confusion. What was digital? What did it mean? What does it mean at the enterprise? Some organizations were well prepared, most were not. Businesses were making reactive moves. You remember those days? There was a confusion about the organizational leadership. Maybe your chief marketing officer is the chief digital officer, or maybe it is some other role. And there was a lack of a coherent org structure, an org architecture of how tech leadership would fit in and lead and make an impact across a broader enterprise strategy. While there were other professional networks that certainly existed, there was nothing intimate, a pure level safe space where women senior tech leaders could have real conversations. Not the conference stage conversations, but the ones that start with, how do we actually do this? What did we do when our boards pushed back? Who do we call when we are navigating a transformation and the organization is resisting? How do we prepare ourselves? What kind of
Mhm,
talent do we build, right? So
mhm,
the prior generation of women leaders had fought extraordinary battles of their own. And some of them
mhm,
stepped up and mentored us, and we are grateful. But most of them were also doing it through their own hustle and through their own ascent and learning and doing it. So many of us were still the only woman in the room. That was a moment of crystallization. So I started the conversations with many leaders. I would quote Chandra Dardapani as being one, Mamta Chamarthi for sure. Very lots of good conversations. Diana and I met at a lunch one day. She was at Textron. She was CIO of Textron, and I was head of digital and information at Kimberly Clark. And we had lunch, I think somewhere in Irvine, which is when we sort of continued and developed those furthermore. And we needed a space. It was ours, peer to peer, practitioner to practitioner. Questions, foundations, development, and trust was an absolute safe space. And like Angela said, we started as a WhatsApp group and a lot of questions, tactical exchanges, strategic framing, purpose and conviction. And then we extended our own platforms. We helped out each other as people were transitioning their own careers, transforming and shaping their own careers. There was no hidden monetization agenda. This has been a no membership fee organization from the very beginning. There's no one sponsor that's telling us what to do. So it's truly by us for us. And we put forth our own personal brands, our personal sweat equity. This was our Saturdays. Diane and I spent numerous Saturdays and Sundays workshopping this along with Mamta and Angela and Diana McKenzie and Wafa and everyone. And planning and recruiting members in the Gartner conferences, research boards, CIO roundtables, CIOs, symposiums, and we of course had teething challenges. Volunteering became paramount, and the ethos from day one was when we give, we receive. On a
mhm.
personal note, COVID was challenging, and I will tell you, the T200 was a community that we leaned in heavily on, and that's how the moment became a movement. Let me pause there, Eileen.
That's amazing. I mean, nothing beats a real experience, and that experience sharing is priceless. With that said, let me switch to Diane for a moment. Diane, I believe you saw the spark at that original dinner. Can you share that moment? What did you see in that room that made you think we need to build something together?
Yeah, so I can remember it so clearly when some of us were at the table when I added together the we just call it the gross revenue of all of our companies. You could have also used market cap. That at that particular time there were five of us at the table, and between us, our companies covered $100 billion in the marketplace.
Wow. Wow.
I thought,
Yeah.
and here we have five women that are leading the technology for these companies. Can you imagine the amplification of our voices if we linked arms and joined together? And so, Suja, I think that meeting was before you and I had lunch, because I think it was that meeting we said, "Oh, we need to get together." And when we met for that lunch, I still remember what you were wearing, by the way. It was a darling, like, pink boiled wool jacket. um, we didn't have, you and I, a particular agenda that we were going to work through. It's all about the investment of networking. Let's get together and see where this goes. And I'll tell you, when I am coaching folks, I say you need to build your network in advance for when you need it. And that's what you and I met. Like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do with this? And
Mhm.
it just unlocked the recognition that we can do so much more together. It was so nice to not be lonely. Right? Our professions can be very lonely. And what we found more than anything was community. And I think that was the beginning, but it became so much more. Spoiler alert, because we're going to talk about that more, Eileen.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you just described the essence of give to gain, right? It could be a lonely world out there as you climb to the top, but what an incredible story, Diane. Very, very inspiring. But now let's hear a short pre-recorded message from one of the original members, Diana McKenzie, who founded the Silicon Valley Women Leaders Group that merged with T200 on building community and the power of joining forces.
You know, I became engaged with and passionate about evolving the T200 community when I very first learned about it in 2019. I and a couple of other women had been spending about 2 years investing in the building of a community in the Bay Area for the women CIOs. And through that experience, we learned that the opportunity to share professionally and personally, being vulnerable with one another, spending time together at annual summits, over dinners on a quarterly basis, and showing up together at vendor sponsored events and VC events made us better leaders, made us better people. And when I learned that T200 was building this community nationally and actually globally, the opportunity to scale the impact we were able to have on one another in the Bay Area just seemed like an opportunity too good to pass up. The second reason is impact. In 2021, we launched T200 Lift, and it was with a vision to lift the next generation of women leaders in technology. And over the course of the last several years, that community has grown to over 1,000 women leaders. Within each of our respective roles as CIOs, we took it upon ourselves and understood the importance of mentoring and developing the women leaders in our organizations and maybe organizations in our community. But to be able to scale that impact nationally, even globally, the number of women whose lives we were able to touch by mentoring and the impact that they had on us in those mentoring relationships is priceless and something that's very difficult to create. And T200 created that opportunity for all of us.
Okay. Diana McKenzie's story reminds us that T200's strength has always come from women who see something bigger than themselves and lean in. Once that spark was lit, T200 needed women who were willing to do the work of building. Suja, as you saw the scale growing, what made you lean in, and what did or does the organization provide that generates such demand? In your opinion, where is T200 headed next?
So we started on a WhatsApp group and then we migrated over to Slack. And meanwhile, we are growing, right? Organically growing. Diana McKenzie was sort of in a business parlance, the inorganic piece. She brought some of the Silicon Valley CIOs that were part of that California group. So let's first touch about the breadth and depth of our membership. We have the C-suite women of Fortune 1 through Fortune 100 companies are our members. So they run the technology stack at some of the most complex global enterprises. And then Fortune 100 to 500, and then the long tail, right? Mid-market companies, smaller companies. We have businesses in Europe. We have global businesses. We have CISOs, chief digital officers, tech officers, CDAIOs, COOs, right? Every variant of a modern technology leadership title and a role, but everyone has a common focus, which is making that impact. This is not a monolithic group by any mean. It's a multi-sector, multifunctional community of practitioners building, transforming, and leading at scale. And it's powerful when we come together and we are constantly engaging with each other while also at the same time focused on Lift Plus, which would be a great story as Pooja starts talking about her story, and then Lift, which is the at large that every woman in tech. So in a given year, T200 delivers north of 50 to 100 events, probably more. And this event in March and the SOAR Summit in September, our annual flagship program, those are key. But so are so many career chats, tech talks, cyber bites, dinners, regional dinners, large scale convenings. And the demand and our focus is organic because the content is practitioner led. Of course, we have sponsors. Sponsors put out some programs, and we on our members are offered the option to attend those. The proof is in the trajectories. So the career arc you will hear would be someone started their career as a CISO in a large company, extremely talented. Through the power of the community, of course, very talented, but the community opened doors, gained
Mm-hmm.
visibility, the frameworks, and the confidence to become a CDIO, got promoted to be a president with full P&L responsibilities, and today she sits on the executive committee of one of the largest companies in the world. People will
Mm-hmm.
tell you stories. Many of our members will tell stories of the first CIO role, the first board role, the first P&L role. And these milestones are happening across our community. Of course, these are amazingly talented women. But certainly, quietly, without fanfare, T200 contributes to their success. And I trust Diane will talk about the 5 C's, 6 C's that we have put together based on which we do our reporting. Career is a major focus and currency. And so there is a set of frameworks that we have in which we focus on our impact. But all of this is still delivered on the by us, for us model. So where are we headed next? This is still taking shape. Diane Schwartz is our chair. Melanie Kalmar is our vice chair. The board, with the inputs from various members, we are still shaping our future. But this is what we would like to see. Where are we headed? And why it matters more than ever. AI is all around us. Just like circa 2015, digital was a focus. Today it's all about AI. And AI is structural, it's not incremental. And it's not just a technology upgrade. It's a fundamental change. And our members and leaders are stepping up and leading that change. And there's a velocity to it that is unprecedented. The regulatory environment is shifting right beneath our feet. Trade regulations, tariffs, data sovereignty, governance frameworks. And the social landscape is being rewritten. Workforce expectations, what workforce impacts, the ethics of automation, all of these are having profound impact. That could be a very short-term pain, but a longer term gain. Community is not optional for leaders. No single executive, no matter how capable, how smart, how wonderful they are, everybody needs community. And T200 exists to ensure that leaders, technology leaders, have that peer network, the intellectual currency, a place to lean in on. That's where T200 is headed. Continue on where we came from, continue to build up our foundations, but focus on the now and the future and help our members navigate as T200 navigates our own future. Back to you, Eileen.
Yeah, that's such an amazing concept. I'm truly in awe of this collaboration and this magic that we found within the T200 community. Diane, let me pivot to you. As the organization scaled, what did you experience about the power of this community?
Yes, so I wish I could say that we had vision for all the ways that we could contribute back then, right? The currency into our careers, as you mentioned, Suja, and the camaraderie of what we have. But really, it developed organically because of the strength of what we all delivered. I can tell you a story that really resonates with me on what I personally have gained, and my previous employer has gained. At the time, I was a global CIO, and I needed to recruit for a business unit CIO in Europe. I didn't have a strength of network there. So I reached out to a small handful of T200 great female CIOs that either were currently in Europe or had just finished European roles and said, hey, who do you know that you can introduce me to? Right away, I swear within 5 minutes, everybody responded with great resumes and resources. I hired one. She then brought along other folks. She unfortunately had to leave that role for a family opportunity. And then that person, happened to be a female, got promoted behind her. So we leave this great trail of talent behind us that we are bringing along and becoming, as you said, the next CIOs of this world. That if it were not for my T200 network, I wouldn't have had this great succession plan in place for Europe. I know we have wonderful executive recruiters that support our community, value our community, and sponsor us. And I'm often one of the first people they'll call when they want referrals, but I'm the last person they call when they're trying to sell their services because they know I'm so well networked. I have this phenomenal talent pool to tap into for career opportunities. So that's the most maybe significant gain that I personally, and again, my employers have recognized. I could go on and on the resources that we have available, but it just shows how we have each other's back, we help each other up, and we pull others behind us.
That sounds very comforting as a member of this organization and very inspiring, Diane. So let's just move to a short pre-recorded message from Diana McKenzie again about what she saw in the landscape for emerging women leaders and why she felt compelled to open that door within T200.
There's two ways I've benefited from my engagement with T200. The first of those is a scaled network. At any point in time, if I have a question or a challenge or even an opportunity to share, and I reach out to any woman in the T200 network, I can guarantee that I will get a response back from them in no time flat. And that is something that's so incredibly powerful. And it is not easy to build that kind of a community in just any organization. The second of those is impact. When we formed Lyft in 2021, the number of women that I've had an opportunity to meet, incredibly talented professional women in mentoring relationships, whether that's an ongoing mentoring relationship or just a one-off phone call. While I give to them, sure, I get so much back from them and from those relationships. And those relationships endure over time. So impacted network are the two things that T200 has given me, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Diana McKenzie saw a gap and built a bridge. Now I want to hear from two women who walked across it. And now we're building bridges. Now they are who are building bridges of their own. Pooja Devan and Faye Eng. T200 has been a part of your careers for several years now. I want to hear what that actually looks like. Pooja, your career journey has progressed into a top technology role, which is really the story of T200 working exactly as intended. Can you take us through that evolution? What did T200 give you that opened doors for this career progression? And what has that progression meant for your career?
Absolutely, and nice to speak with you, Eileen, as well. Hi, I'm Pooja Diwan, currently the CDO at Rent-A-Kill. And I've been a 20 plus years tech and AI executive. And some of the founding members you see here, Suja and Diane, I had a pleasure of meeting them. So while I've not been one of the founding members 10 years back, but about 4 or 5 years back, I had a chance on actually meeting them and having a chance, just like I think about my professional network, where I'm part of big societies that kind of focus on AI and have access to practitioners and academics, what I found talking to Suja and Diane is there's a whole community of network of women that are truly honestly not just thinking about investing or asking money, but investing in lifting women up. And those couple of conversations led me to join the technology committee to help out. And that was the part of me getting engaged into T200. And it has done wonders for me because just like I had, Diane talked about a network of people I could reach out to from data and AI perspective. Now I had a network of women, not just to talk about a particular problem, but give me conversations where helping me think through what I want to do in my life going forward. And some of those conversations, they were not telling me what to do. They were just letting me resonate and figure out. Suja talks about, how AI is front and left and center. But 4 or 5 years ago, as I was thinking through some transition and having conversations, one of the things that was very important in that conversation was she connected me to a lot of networks that are thinking through venture and board and portfolio careers. But within T200, those Saturday meetings you talk about, we got a chance of actually spending time with those leaders one on one later on. And those conversations helped me get clarity into the role that I'm currently in because it helped me recognize that what I really wanted was still digital data and AI. I did not want to become a CISO or CIO. So how do I actually try to, find something that helps me get to the seat on the table, but doing the things that I enjoy doing out there.
Mhm.
So thanks to people like Suja and Diane, Saturday mornings, even my family never bothered me, and it was yoga time. The dog didn't bother me; it was yoga time. But I remember being around in workout clothes with Suja and Diane and Edwina and Karen out there discussing. Guess what? How do we get the best technology platform out there for T200 so that women can have the best experience and communicate and connect with each other? So I'm extremely thankful to T200 because it's not just created a network, it's also created a network of friends that I can rely on. I can pick up the phone and I can rely on them giving me truly candid feedback, not something just to be nice, whether it is around how your resume is written or how you are talking and having conversations. And they open the doors. And, AI is a big thing. So, Sujan, knowing our passion, one of the things that T200 is now trying to do is to, as we grapple with AI as technology executives, we're changing with a completely different way of delivering technology. It's impacting everybody. And so, more to come on that, but we are launching a series that is going to completely focus on the AI readiness, the risk that's involved, or the governance structures or the operating model, so we can continue to deliver the impact we do in our organizations, but now get to hear from people that are seeing different sides of it. So, extremely proud and really glad to be part of the T200. It's been an instrumental part of my journey.
Wonderful, Pooja. I mean, on the AI side, I hear you, and I'm so excited to be part of the AI journey with T200 as well. And we all need coaches, we all need mentors, we all need somebody to bounce ideas off of. Having this community of wealth of knowledge of experienced leaders is definitely a value add in our leadership journey. So, Faye, let me switch to you. Faye Eng, you've been actively building your network through T200, and Pooja chime in as well. You've lived the full arc. We are at a moment where the work environment can feel a little unsettling for someone joining us today who's wondering whether a community like this still matters. What would you say to them?
Yeah, so my name is Fei Ang. I've over 20 years of experience in financial services, data analytics, and using technology to help companies improve their business processes while optimizing their technology spend. So, communities has always been important to me, whether it's today or over 20 years ago. And I learned that when I was 19 years old, I flew from Singapore to the US to start college, and I was all on my own. At that time, my college community would be there to support me, pick me up from the airport, brought me to Target to buy bed sheets and laundry baskets. The only way I could repay them was to pay it forward to the next class of freshmen. And I felt the same way with T200. Last August, when I attended the in-person Saw conference, I just loved the vibe in the room. I had great conversations with many people. I felt the incredible energy and left with good memories. And I wanted to continue to be part of this network. So the problem is, how do I stand out among these thousands of people in the community, right? And I know I need to make this happen for me. So I approached a few leaders and asked for opportunities to volunteer. And I persisted, right? And within a few weeks, I got my first assignment. Darlene Taylor suggested that I contact Jacob Brown to speak at our next career chat in a few weeks. Jacob Brown is an ex NFL player and he's a public speaker. I really wasn't sure if he's going to pick up my call, but I say yes to Darlene anyway. Jacob Brown did speak in October, and I continued to get to work with T200 members and CIOs in our community to organize our monthly career chats. And before long, I was asked to lead the committee. So I believe that if we raise our hands, we lean in, and we deliver results, we build visibility for ourselves. And more importantly, with every engagement, I spent time getting to know the people I was working with. I was building genuine connections within the T200 community. And in a couple months, when I got laid off, I was able to tap into this trusted network for help. Some of them helped me define the next chapter of my career, and others helped me open doors where I did not even think that it was possible. I think, Diane, you mentioned about, the network of recruiters and just the connection that we have in this community. It was pivotal in my job search journey the last few months. So, to those who are here with us today, my advice is reflect on your networks. Many of us are connected to many social media groups and WhatsApp channels, Slack channels. Do you know these people personally? Have you connected to learn about them? And not just to ask for favors? Have you leaned in to support this community? Because what I learned is when I give, I know I'm going to get it back later.
It looks like T200 is achieving great strides with your leadership, ladies. Thank you, Faye and Pooja, for sharing. With that said, we would love to take some questions from the audience.
So I see a question on there from Rashmi. She said, what's the best way to connect to someone who may be in LinkedIn, but it's been a while since we interacted with them? I think any of the panelists can chime in on this, but you need to find a real connection. But it starts with, how are they your connection on LinkedIn in the first place? Mm-hmm. Keeping good notes. How did you meet them? Where did you meet them? Providing the context. I wish I had done better of this 5,000 contacts ago, because there's too many people on LinkedIn that I don't have that genuine connection with. But it really starts back then, because if you reach out and say, hey, we met at the RSA convention and I saw you speak on this, we talked about that, would love to reconnect. That's how you kind of build that community. You can also say what your specific ask is. Hey, I'm exploring new ideas on AI and I really need a thought partner to talk with. So you have to find a way that maybe they are interested in re-engaging with you. It really goes back to what you said, Faye. It's that circular economy. It's not about, hey, what can you do for me? It's what can we do for each other? So I'd love to hear if anybody else has.
No, that is the key point, right? So the first one thing I do is, whether in T200 or outside, it's about just making that connection and no agenda. In the first meeting, don't have any agenda items. No, it's not about anything. Make sure you are connecting in a real way, and then trust that it may happen in many cases. It may not happen in some cases, which is okay. I move on. And in those cases where it happens, the consistency and the persistency of the follow through and the give before you get. Just keep that equation in mind, is you have to give first before you start expecting something. Where I am put off is where somebody reaches out and I haven't heard from them for 10 years and they suddenly, the first question is, what can you do to help me do one, two, three, four? That's a put off. But many of them don't. Many of them, it's truly a connection. That's why we are here as a community, and continue to do that. And you do that at scale. You repeat, you rinse, repeat that. And then your network, it's a network effect. That's why it's called a network effect. It truly becomes a multiplier. It's a multiplicative factor. And then there comes a point when your network works for you. Isn't that wonderful? So, but it always, giving has to be the theme. It's never about getting. It's always, don't begin with thinking, what can I get out of my network?
Yeah, I'll add to a few things. I agree with Diane and Suja. The other thing is, we have holidays, right? There is Thanksgiving, there's New Year. I celebrate 2 or 3 New Years. There's always a good excuse to reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? I've been thinking about you, wondering if we could connect and learn about what we're doing these days. Um, one thing I've learned through this humble journey the last few months is people are busy. We may have to reach out more than once, right? Even though they may say, okay, I'll reach out to you, but if you don't hear from them, ping them again. Maybe 2 times, maybe 3 times. And truly, that's what happened to me. If not, I would not be sitting here with T200 because I was persistent on reaching out.
I think you can see from everybody at different levels, the desire to help others and give and continue to, whether it's Suja or Diane, which have done it for a long time and are at a different level. But I do, my introduction to T200 was honestly just an investment of conversation from their end, which piqued my interest. So saying that this is something that I want to be part of. It was not about just knowing. What was incredible was there are women with incredible careers, so much to do, and yet genuinely present to talk to you and give you advice that you probably cannot get from just conferences. Those are very transactional conversations. You learn from them. In this community, you really are there for each other and you really try to invest in giving before you think about getting. So I think that's what is wonderful about this place.
I think there's another question from Melanie, which is a fantastic question. Melanie Kalmar, who was until very recently, she was as Chief Information and Digital Officer at Dow Chemical, and she does a board career now. And Melanie is the Vice Chair of T200. She's part of the Board of Directors. She has a great question. What is your vision for T200 going forward? So Diane, why don't we start with listening to you?
Sure. So this year is the year for, call it, creating the basics. So that's not the vision of T200. I'll start with this year. We have always been this volunteer-led organization. And Margaret Sharapova always says, we're messy. And that's what makes us great. Because sometimes we have events and sometimes they We maybe have some challenges with scheduling, and because we don't have big budgets, we don't have big structure. This is all CIOs and our teams doing the work. And I'll tell you, as a CIO, I'm a terrible individual contributor. So sometimes it's hard for us to get work done. But with the likes of Catherine, our executive director, and Ambly, putting together a little bit more structure on having a master calendar and keeping track of our volunteers and just being more repeatable in what we do is the foundation that I want us to create this year so that we can be a much more resilient organization going forward, so that the next generation of CIOs and the next generation of CIOs have T200 to continue to rely on, so that we understand what we are giving to our community, who's giving it, what is the content we're delivering, who are the sponsors who are supporting us. So infrastructure has always been a strength that I bring to my employers. And that's the kind of thing that I am bringing here to this community, so that it has that scaffolding to rely on for the future. So Suja, I'm
We are
behind the
thrilled.
scenes. You're ahead of the scene, so would love to hear on
So
the other
Diane,
side from you.
we adore Diane, and absolutely we've got to do what she's saying. And there's also a question on DE&I. So we are expanding the board, and more to come on this. But certainly we are exploring into looking at bringing men to the board of T200 and being that broader representation and focus. And yeah, one day maybe T200 will be broader than just women. It'll be all of us. Can you imagine the power of so many people, leaders, men and women together, creating that future? Somebody's saying, get it done. Yeah, that's right. Get it done is the D's for Diane and D for is done. So that is one. So certainly for me, it is about adaptations. I am very true in my core of who I am and the focus on inclusion. And at the same time, there is absolutely a necessity as we continue to adapt ourselves in this environment and as we move along, gradually moving from digital focus to more. Of course, many of us are AI leaders even way before AI became this big thing, but really up front and center, AI focused. Those are two certain things. The topics we are still discussing and dialoguing are the scale. Are we going to continue to stay this sort of tight-knit, very high quality community, or should we scale? What is the right amount of scaling so we don't dilute the focus and we keep that reasonable professional intimacy that we're able to maintain today? So what does that scaling mean? And fundamentally, vision means that we create something that is adaptive and relevant for the moment, and the moments will evolve, and going global and going more global than we are today, but definitely creating something and leaving a legacy that will help communities and leaders, tech leaders, for generations to come. This is what I left the question on chat. It's not going to happen just by us. It's not going to happen just from the board. It's not going to just happen from few of us. So you chose the time, you chose to be part of this conversation. So at least leave a comment if you are with us. Are you with us to creating that future and helping us shape the vision and the evolution of the mission, but also more importantly in executing on it? Are you with us? Can you leave a yes? Or please be bold enough to say no as well. That's also fine. So over to you, Pooja. We would love to hear your thoughts.
Think all of us, there's just a lot going on in change. And even though you see decades of experience, one of the conversations going around is the pace of change because of AI. It's just basically structurally changing all of the things. So you feel others have the answers. No, nobody has the answers. Being in that field for 20 plus years, I can still see there are so many issues that we need to discuss. And I think this community is not transactional. This community is all about showing you different ways of approaching the problem, from risk, governance, models, impact. Rashmi just now raised her hand. She's there focused on impact on AI side. Jyoti has been spearheading and making us make sure every Saturday or Sunday we are getting the speakers ready for you that we can line up. However, structured we can bring, but the target's there, that we understand that this is a topic all of us want to learn. And how do we bring you the people that know a little bit more than us, just discuss with us. And those topics will continue to evolve. I think that's the part you want to find in a volunteer organization, such a connected group, such that you can reach out, but at the same time that if you are just part of the group and you don't communicate, you don't connect, and you talk to people once and you move away, you really leave a lot on the table for yourself too, because it's not about that transaction of getting. And I think that's what all of us have to keep challenging ourselves, that it's not just how we give, but we find a community where whatever we want to do and what strength we bring to the table, how we help others, because that creates a connection. So I think I've drunk the Kool-Aid for 5 years ago, and I am part of several communities. But it's like you have to be part of many tribes, and this is one tribe that I truly feel being proud of, because I feel I can, just by talking to women, it's not about what I get from them. Those conversations itself is enriching, because you are lonely on the top. So having somebody who's gone through that plus maybe 5 other things, it's, if nothing else, a good, great coffee conversation with Diane that we have. So over to Faye if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I agree with all the points, and I want us to, for those who are newer to in this journey, right? There's a lot of resources available to us today that Diane, Pooja, Suja have shared. There wasn't that many women at the top at that time, right? The resources are here today. It is for us to make it happen for us. Show up, raise your hands, lean in, drive the outcomes. And I think when we do that, we're really tapping into this community, whether it's a community of just women or just women in technology or any other communities, right? I think we really need to show up and give in order to gain.
Absolutely, everyone. I think we've answered some key questions, like what does T200 offer today that external environments simply cannot? And we also answered questions for someone who's not sure how to support the network or other women. So I'd like to thank our audience for great questions, and our panel for responding. So what you have heard today is not a story about an organization. It's a story about what happens when women decide again and again, in small ways and large, to show up for each other. Suja started a conversation. Diane and Angela and others leaned in, helped to open a new door. Pooja walked through it. Faye is holding it open for the next woman behind her. This is give to gain cycle. It does not require you to be a founder or have all the answers. It only requires to take one step, give your time, share your knowledge, open a door. Because in this community, giving is never one directional. It comes back to you in ways you cannot predict and cannot manufacture anywhere else. If today's conversation has moved you, your next step is one click away. So let me also introduce you to T200's Executive Director, Catherine Wasner, to close us out. Catherine, take it away.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you to all of our panelists as well. This sort of sums it up. You don't build a community by waiting for someone else to start it. You build it by showing it up and then showing up for others. This sums up T200. The founders of T200 saw a need, that there needed to be a community, and didn't wait for that to happen. They went ahead and built it. So thank you to our founders, because this is an amazing community. mentioned earlier was our sponsors and partners. We always have to thank them. So thank you so much, this group of sponsors and partners. Without them, we couldn't do all of the things that we do. So thank you very much to all of these folks. Also, thank you to all of the folks who made today possible. Our panelists, Suja, Diane, Pooja, and Faye, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and sharing your story with us. We all appreciate that. Our Founding Voices videos, Angela and Diana, had great things to say and took the time again out of their days to make those videos for us and all that they've done for T200. So we thank them. Our video production, Nargis and Zinab, without them, our videos would have looked raw and unedited. They thank you to them for donating their time. And they're a great example of the T200 community. Nargis was someone that Faye knows, and through networking, Faye kind of got Nargis to support our mission and help us with that. So we appreciate that they volunteered their time as well. And thank you to Faye and Taryn, who were sort of the ones who created this program, had the idea for this program, and helped to develop it. So thank you so much to all the volunteers who made this possible.
And thank you, Catherine and Eileen. Thank you so much for your work as well.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, and thank you, Eileen, for raising your hand to facilitate this.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. It was it's such a priceless experience to interact with all of you. Looking forward to collaborating in the future. And what an amazing community to be part of.
Right. And again, if anyone wants to get more involved, these are the areas where we're T200's working group areas where we're looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in getting involved, shoot me a message on Slack. There is a form on our Slack as well. You can indicate your willingness to volunteer. But as everyone said, they get more than they give. So please, if you're thinking you want to get more involved, these are the areas where we are looking for volunteers. And stay connected with us. If you're not a member, this is open to everybody. If you're not a T200 member and you think this is great, I want to be part of this, join us. Go to t200.org and join us. Give back, volunteer, share your story, mentor. There's many other ways to give back. Get in touch and please share what you can. And again, stay in touch. Mostly we communicate with all of you via Slack, our posts on LinkedIn. So make sure you stay in touch with us. And now very quickly, we'd like your feedback. I'm going to launch a quick poll just to gather some information. Give me 1 second. So you should have a poll up on your screen with 2 questions. If you could answer each of these for us to gather some information, that would be most helpful. I will leave that open for another minute. We very much appreciate your willingness to do this as we gather some more information. So I'll leave it open another few seconds. I see some responses still coming in, so. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Thank you very much for your willingness to share, and thank you for attending today. This last slide, this is my contact information. Again, if any of you want to volunteer, have a question about T200, anything you want to know, question, comment, suggestion, please email me. Again, my email's here or send me a message on Slack. Always love to hear from the T200 community. So thank you all for attending. Have a great day.